on Facebook, having the crucial conversations that Erie needs. And every year we want to make sure that we have a conversation about autism, and we're glad to have with us here for Autism Acceptance Month. We've got Tish Bartlett, the Executive Director of Autism Society of NWPA. Hi, Tish. How are you?
Hi. Thank you for inviting us.
And we want to welcome in Kat DiVittorio, the Executive Director of the DiVittorio Center for Autism in Corry. Kat, good to see you.
Hi, how are you?
Doing well. We had you on I think, a small segment maybe with the Nonprofit Day or something like that.
I was on the High Ed's Community Chronicles radio for a little bit when we were talking about the nonprofits.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, welcome. And we want to kind of be able to kind of cover the whole areas of autism, where we're at in 2026. And we'll start with you, Tish. We've been tracking diagnoses of people that are on the autism spectrum. Mm-hmm. Have we seen any movement either for more diagnoses or less? What are you seeing on the data side?
I would say more. Now, the CDC's most recent numbers is 1 in 34 are identified on the spectrum. That's the childhood numbers. And then it's 1 in 45 for adults in the U.S. living with autism. There's more understanding, more knowledge. So we're also seeing an increase in young ladies being diagnosed, where historically there was a higher number of the males with the diagnosing, but they're doing a better job of helping our young ladies at an earlier age. The national average for diagnosing is still age 5. However, we highly encourage not waiting. There is so much research and outcomes supporting early intervention. So getting those kiddos into early intervention leads to better outcomes in the long term. So we say, don't wait, go ahead, get the evaluation. Either they're going to say, yes, they have autism, which is okay. There's lots of supports out there through the Autism Society, as well as other programs, which like Kat's going to talk about. So don't wait, get them evaluated.
Okay, so when you say don't wait, mm-hmm. Is that in the first year, or is in the second year after the first birthday? What are we talking?
Usually signs appear anywhere between 24 and 36 months. You're going to start seeing signs. Some, parents don't pick it up till maybe age 4, but earlier the better. So as soon as you have a question of your son or daughter not meeting their developmental milestones, then that's when to start asking questions and start ruling out and saying, what could this be? The earlier, the better. Some individuals have been diagnosed as young as 18 months. Those that are more profoundly affected could be diagnosed as young as 18 months. But anytime you're seeing a delay in development, fine or gross motor skills, language development, social interaction, that is when you really want to start asking questions to your pediatrician and seeking out options just to find out what's going on. Even if it's not autism, many times early intervention can help with just speech delays. OTPT can help with fine motor skills challenges, gross motor skills. The more you can help your toddler before they get into the formal educational setting of kindergarten, the better off they will be in the long run.
Okay. So but still 2 years, but is kind of where we're at here.
Yes,
yeah.
Yes.
We changed the name to Autism Acceptance Month a few years ago, and talk about the thinking behind that.
So actually Autism Society of America was really the driver in that, which is the national organization of all the Autism Society affiliates. Mm-hmm. We're all independent, but we share the same brand and, of course, the same mission. So we wanted to change from autism awareness, because we are aware of autism now, and now is the time time to accept our individuals that are living with autism. Accept him every day. Accept him in school. Accept them in the workforce. They are our peers. They are our family members. So we're still, of course, raising awareness, but now the voice is we're going to accept them, and our job is to educate how they can have life-sustaining employment. You can hire them. They can live independently. They can be owners. They are driving. So we want that stigma lifted where now we're accepting this. We're not raising awareness anymore because we all are aware of autism. Now's the time to embrace our individuals, our neurodiverse individuals.
Yeah, Kat, weigh in on that. I think it's appropriate what Tish was saying is that even the conversation is turned to neurodiversity, right?
Absolutely. So I like to think a lot about the fact that we talk about acceptance and everybody says, oh, well, I accept autism, because when you see like the autistic kid in school and the autistic support classroom, you're like, oh, I already understand that. But we need to be aware that in the public, autism looks like a lot of different things. Like profound autism isn't always the same as the level 1 autism, as whatever other perceptions of autism are. So when we're out in public, when we see maybe an adult man who's acting a little bit off that we think is weird, but it could just be an autistic individual and they've grown out of that quote unquote cute phase. Like we need to be accepting of the full situation. Like we need to understand that our perceptions of autism and what we consider acceptance is so far removed from the actual overwhelming acceptance of the entire spectrum and what everybody needs. Like we need to take a step back, evaluate what we're thinking in our perception of autism and what our perception of even acceptance is, and kind of broaden that and start making the story about understanding the individuals and making that bridge for them.
What do you think is the biggest misconception? And let's stay with the adults, of an autistic adult. Like, I guess there's 60-year-old autistic people walking around, right?
Absolutely.
I mean,
So I would say some of the misconception is individuals, adults with autism, can hold full-time life-sustaining employment. So we mean employment that they can live off, that they can support themselves. They can live independently. They can have relationships. They can be married. They can be parents. They can have children. And I think that's kind of a misconception where originally it was thought of, as a childhood disability. It is not. It's a lifetime disability. And your neighbor could be somebody who has a husband, a wife, children, and still be on the autism spectrum.
Yeah, and so are people putting limiting factors on, again, staying with adults here?
Yes. So our individuals with autism, our neurodiverse population, they're not going to present in the typical manner, especially at like a job interview or how they act in public. Maybe they're walking around, not making eye contact, are adverse to sounds, noises. They're not going out in the typical social setting. So all of these stigmas are placed on everybody with autism. So then you find employers, no fault to theirs, just lack of knowledge and understanding, that they're not hiring them because they're not sure of what is going to happen in the workforce. Is this going to cause additional work for our other employees? Is this going to cause additional work for our supervisors? Are they going to be able to get through that job interview? Many times that's a hurdle because they don't present in the typical manner, so they don't make it through the job interview because the interviewer is questioning, why did they not look at me? Why were they fidgeting? Why were they delaying answering questions? All of those are typical autism traits that need to be embraced and understood, because they may struggle to get through the interview, but they could be your best employee.
Yeah.
Because they're not going to be gossiping at the old saying of the water cooler. They're going to be focused. They're going to want to get their work done.
Well, and we even have like there's an instance where one of the young men that I know, he went for an interview and he just dressed in his regular street clothes. And when he was told that he didn't get the position, like they were like, "Oh, you interviewed great, but you didn't show up presentable in a way that we would want somebody to come to work." And he was like, I don't know, like why did they not tell me to dress? Like they told me to come and bring my resume and to answer questions. They didn't tell me to dress this way. And it's a very large spectrum, and some people really need all of those details. And if you're not preparing everybody for every situation, there's always those barriers. It's one of those situations, but if you know one person with autism, you know one person with autism, right? So we don't really have a direct approach for everybody, but there are barriers that employers are putting out there that they don't even know that they're putting out there, because how would you think that something that you could consider like maybe common sense that isn't a direct thing for somebody else? Yeah.
So I'm wondering where the place of an advocate, or I mean, of a sidekick or something like that comes into play in these kinds of interactions.
So not everyone on autism spectrum will qualify for that sidekick, the waiver staff. Our level 1 individuals usually do not qualify. So the
what does that mean? I'm sorry. What's
qualify for waiver staff, the sidekick, an individual that can go with them out into the community and help them, maybe go with them to a part-time job, items like that.
There's currently 3 levels of autism. They're looking at adding a 4th, but it's level 1, level 2, and profound autism is level 3.
Yeah.
Okay, profound autism. So
yeah.
So the level 1 would be the most.
Yeah, they're our individuals that are going to need life-sustaining employment. They're going to have to live independently. There is not enough resources and services, and they're individuals that are going to have still supports, maybe with doing their financials or helping to make sure that they're organized and getting their bills paid, depending on what their needs are, where their differences are. They're still going to need some support. The details of how to get through a job interview. And this is one thing that the Autism Society Northwestern Pennsylvania has been really focusing on in our adult programs, as we do a program called Empowered Employment in the summertime. And we're talking to them about writing the resume. We do mock job interviews, and we ask them before we start this is, what would you wear to this interview? How would you dress? How are you going to greet them when you walk in the room? And we're teaching them all of these steps, and then actually taking them out to local businesses where they can experience a day in life of what it would be like to work in that place. And to kind of feed off what Kat said, we had an individual that went for an interview at a construction company, and he wore dirty ripped jeans and a hoodie, and they didn't hire him for that. And he said, the interview was for a construction company, so I dressed like I would be working in construction. He didn't understand the interview. You need to dress nicer.
So let me just ask, where do people that maybe are not on the spectrum learn these soft skills? I feel like we have a whole society that is struggling with some of these issues.
True story.
That is so
It's
true.
so bad.
I would agree with that. And actually on my Autism 101, I always ask the group, where did you learn the unwritten social rules of society? And you just, honestly, if you think back, no one pulled you aside to teach you these rules. We just absorb it from our surroundings and what we've been exposed to.
Watching TV.
Where our individuals, neurodiverse individuals, they're not generalizing and absorbing these skills.
So that's kind of the difference, the differentiator, would you say?
Absolutely, yeah. I think that if you're not giving specific directions, then a lot of the times they're just not going to come up with it on their own, because that's not the way a lot of people think in the neurodiverse setting.
So again, I go back to the advocacy.
Yes.
It's like, you just give me a wingman and to help me navigate, right? I mean, it just seems like that.
I think we could all use a wingman.
I think you're absolutely right.
There are organizations that support individuals that are on the spectrum, absolutely. But we're looking at the fact that some people that are maybe on level 1, they don't necessarily need that wingman in most situations, so that they wouldn't assume that somebody would need that going for a job interview. But there are places like the Autism Society that have courses and programs to teach employers too, that when you're interviewing, this is what to look for to see neurodivergent people, and maybe understand that they didn't show up in a hoodie and ripped jeans to be like, oh, like I'm just a sloppy person, but to be like, hey, I am exemplifying what I would wear during my construction role. So
it picked up the cue that way.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to take my first break. 421, very fascinating and informative conversation with our friends regarding Autism Acceptance Month. Stay with us. It's Talk Erie. Autism Acceptance Month. We've got Tish. We've got Kat here. Let's go over to your new center here, Kat, and talk about kind of the. Just remind folks of the startup that you're doing there to support rural folks on the spectrum, you know.
Absolutely. So the DiVittorio Center for Autism is a rural autism support hub and educational facility. It's located in Corry, Pennsylvania. We're kind of starting out. We've been incorporated for a year as of March 14th. We have a physical location and we run programs. We actually have an open house on Saturday. So if you're in Corry and you want to stop by, we're operating from 11 to 2. You can come check out our sensory room, see some of our curriculum that we're currently in the accreditation process of, hang out with us and answer some questions. But but we're really creating a duplicatable rural model that would allow a barrier-free entry for privatized education, regardless of financial or transportation barriers for children on the autism spectrum. And that would include resources, programs, education. We work in partnership with therapeutic support services and diagnosis. And then we work in conjunction with organizations like the Autism Society of Northwestern Pennsylvania to bring other programs down and such too.
That's amazing. Again, everybody knows that the services are generally always in the urban area, and so when you're out 45 minutes away, that you saw that a huge gap there.
It was a big issue. My own son, he's profoundly autistic. He's considered nonverbal, even though he'll talk your ear off about planets or dinosaurs. Never get him started on that. But we were having a big struggle with the transportation. He had really big issues with sitting in the car for 45 minutes to go up for therapies, and the hours just wouldn't work to try to do it in Corry. So on top of that, and the fact that I didn't like the fact that he couldn't get one-to-one care for education, we just kind of built it ourselves.
Before I go to the bottom of the hour here, can I ask you where Pennsylvania is on public policy in this space? Do you feel like we are a good state for autism support, and what department is in charge of all that?
So I actually get to meet with the Health and Human Services and the Education next week. Health and Human Services is mostly in conjunction with our autism support care. I think that we're trying to be more dynamic than we are. I think that that's really important. I'm very fortunate that I get to meet with them, and hopefully we'll be able to come up with some kind of plan to duplicate these rural autism support hubs, because they are very barrier free, and I do think that we're in a good shape where a lot of people are very supportive of seeing our children thrive. So that makes it really, really great too. I do think that right now we need to do a push to make sure that all of our autistic individuals are all protected and supported the ways they need to. But I do see Pennsylvania supporting us where we can.
Tish, weigh in on this. Is there a specific line item that you guys count on, or?
We actually do not receive any funding through the state or federal government.
How about the county?
No. We are 100% fundraising. We are, so there is no line item to support our programming. However, in working with other Autism Society affiliates, there's I believe 74 now across all of the U.S. Pennsylvania does do a good job with our children, and the fact that we have the loophole for the Medicaid access, no matter their income, which opens up doors to therapies, because many times private business insurance will not cover autism services. So that is something Pennsylvania has done really well.
What about a line item at DOE for the school districts? Are you seeing significant investment at the district level?
So
I've got like 30 seconds. Yeah.
The education has all been increased, but there's not enough policy to dictate how that's spent. So I think that special education is spread out across special education.
Okay, so it's coming under the special education line items, but it's spread out to all the different needs.
Yes.
And I do, talking about adults again, I do think that we need to grow in our adult sports in Pennsylvania.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. We are talking about Autism Acceptance Month. Tish is with us. Kat is with us. We've got to go to our break. You are tuned to Talk Erie and the Joel Natale Show on this Wednesday. You're tuned to Talk Erie and the Joel Natale Show, live from our Kingdom Financial Group studio here at 5th and State. It is Autism Acceptance Month. Kat DiVittorio, the executive director of the DiVittorio Center for Autism in Corry, and Tish Bartlett, executive director of the Autism Society of Northwestern Pennsylvania, joining us here. We're talking about resources. We're talking about the state of folks that have autism spectrum disorder here in our region, and with the addition of your center here and just the growth. I mean, honestly, talk about the growth at your facility up there in State, right? I mean,
yes. So the Autism Society, we are actually celebrating our 25th annual Walk for Autism on April 25th. So we're very excited about that. But the actual Autism Society affiliate here has been around since the 90s, started by 8 parents that really wanted to support one another and wanted to grow resources. I've had the honor of being the executive director for the past 16 years, and in that time we have able to develop therapeutic programs that cover the lifespan from age 3 all the way up through adulthood. And we're doing things like social interaction, job prep, cooking skills, household responsibilities. We're giving them a place, a home away from home, where they know where they are welcome and belong. We also provide family support, education. We do Autism 101 trainings for our families as well as out in the community. Kat mentioned earlier, we educate employees. We have neurodiversity in the workplace, where I go in and I teach employers and their staff of what it would be like to hire an individual with autism and how that can look and be successful. We are now collaborating with the Erie Family Center here in Erie, and we're offering the Incredible Years program, which works with parents. It's a 14-week program at no cost, and it works with parents to teach them about de-escalation and limit setting, play therapy, how to work on communication with your young son or daughter. Autism diagnosis is not required. It's autism or a language delay or developmental delay. So we also knew we're starting a mom's Mugs and Moments. It's going to be a Wednesday morning support group for moms or dads. Moms or dads could come, and just to support one another.
Yeah.
And help and get questions. We give resources. We talk about IEPs. We talk about therapies. We talk about where you can do your estate planning, your guardianship, all those nuts and bolts that parents need, because it can be so overwhelming and not knowing where to turn to get the help.
Yeah, well, talk about the idea of navigating life with a child on the spectrum. And again, you said, once you've met one person with autism, you've met one person with autism. Is it the same for families? Is every family dynamic slightly different?
So everything is slightly different, but I feel like every single person I've talked to, especially in the rural region, they kind of go through the same process of you get this diagnosis. I know that for ours, it was over a 2-day process with a doctor that my son had never met in a clinical situation. They go through this 2-day process. They hand you a stack of papers. They're like, hey, profoundly autistic, you have this many hours of therapy. Like, go into the world and figure it out yourself. So then you are literally like left with nothing, right? So I mean, it was a 2-hour drive home where I cried the entire way because I had no idea what any of this meant. And I knew autism. I have a sibling that's on the autism spectrum. Like, it was not new to me, but the whole concept of now you have to figure out all of these therapy hours, and now you have to figure out all of these new lifestyle changes and all of these things that are completely unknown, like figure it out on your own, was just overwhelming. So although obviously every child with autism, every adult with autism is different, that kind of like isolation on an island feeling, I think, is present in so many families. And that's where it's really important to find your community. I was very fortunate that when this was happening, I found Tish because she was actually doing a speech through the Jefferson, and that's kind of like where my connection started, where I was like, okay, like there's programming support and there's all these parents that have also been through this, and like I started building a network. But more often than not, like we are thrown out there by ourselves and we have to navigate by ourselves, and maybe our kids get in the public school district and we think that we have to follow all these IEPs the exact way the school does it. And we don't realize there's places like ARC Erie County who advocate for us, or the Autism Society who helps break down IEPs, or the DiVittorio Center who has resources and people that can give you grants for your adaptive equipment through Variety or sensory rooms, or people that have even just been through it. Like that connection, I've made so many friends through this process, where I think 5 years ago I was completely alone in it with just like me and my family trying to navigate it. It's really isolating when you're not given those resources.
It's kind of one of the positive things that as the diagnoses have gone up, there's just a lot more people having this lived experience. Would you say, Tish?
Yes, definitely. And that's kind of where the Autism Society started from, is the parents were searching for other families to walk the walk with them so they weren't isolated. Many times you'll hear stories from parents that when they had their child and their child started showing signs of autism, they lost their family, they lost their friends. Well, at the Autism Society, everybody is welcome. Whether it is an official diagnosis or your child is young and developmentally delayed and you're not sure where to turn, our doors are open, because nobody should ever feel alone. And as a mom now of a 22-year-old on the spectrum, I wish that we had all the things back then. When my son was diagnosed at 3.5, I had a 2-hour drive home and I cried and I didn't know where to go or what to do. I didn't know how to get help. And we want that at everyone's fingertips. They already have enough to deal with the fact that they're dealing with probably behaviors or not development. They shouldn't have to also get on and do mounds of research of how to get help. We want to make that easy for them.
Can we talk about the extended family, the friends? You know, I mean, you think about a parent group, and then you have a child, you know, that is, I don't know, just is there, you're dealing with a new difference, right? In that dynamic. What are some tips or some encouragements you can give people that are adjacent to and loved ones of families? Because again, people at church, you know, they know how to deal with the kid in the Sunday school, or do they, you know? And of course, you know, you have the school environment.
Yes.
You have all these different social environments. The kid having a breakdown at the grocery store. You know, how about showing a little kindness? Talk about some of that. Yeah.
So this is one thing that I personally, through my job at the Autism Society, started focusing on probably 10 years ago, was educating the community about autism and what it looks like and how can you support your family members, your friends, your coworkers. And out of that, I developed the Autism 101 program, where we break down what are the signs of autism, what does it mean, how do they communicate, why is social interacting so challenging, and behaviors. And the biggest thing that I always say is behavior is communication. Our children, whether they're 15 or 3, do not get up in the morning and say, I am going to ruin your day. It's the cause of the day. Yeah. Maybe their shirt was scratchy. You know, maybe it's raining and they have an adversity to the rain. My son thinks rain is acid on his skin. All of these triggers, riding a school bus, can be so overwhelming. The loud noises in the grocery store, at the mall, all of these items can build up and it comes out in a behavior because the individual can't communicate. The bus was too loud, someone pushed me, you know, someone touched me and I don't like to be touched, the weather's bad. They're not going to be able to break that down and tell you. And it comes out in a behavior. So the best thing is to understand behavior is communication. They're not trying to come and ruin your Thanksgiving. They're not trying to destroy a display at Walmart. They are acting out because they can't tell you what is upsetting them. And the best thing that I say, especially for extended family members, is to understand that and welcome them. And we've had grandparents call us and say, we don't know how to do this. They're coming for Christmas from out of town. They completely destroy our room. And I say, you know, set up a safe place. Set up a place where your grandson or granddaughter doesn't have to be at the busy, loud, yelling Christmas Eve dinner, because we know families get together and everyone gets loud. Have a safe place where they can go, where they're still a part of it and enjoying the holiday, but they have quiet time. They have a break. So be proactive instead of reacting and saying, this doesn't work, they can't be here. Because the parents need that. They need to know that they're still welcome. They're still welcome to go to the grocery store. They're still welcome to enjoy family holidays.
Well, and I think that the most important thing is, I go back to, as we talked earlier, the preconception of what people are supposed to be is the biggest issue, right? Like, we should just accept our family, our loved ones, our friends, the way they are, and not want them to come and be the perfect guest or the perfect XYZ, especially when there are outside forces. And I will always choose my kids over anybody else, right? So, I mean, obviously, like, there are friends that I stopped going around because you can't bring my Nicholas. He will have behaviors because he knows I'm stupid, right? He's smarter than me. He knows I'm stupid, and I'm not listening to him well. But he is. I'm lucky his behaviors are never super violent toward anybody except for me, because he knows that mom is the safe place. But he wants to run, right? He wants to run around, and he wants to touch everything, and he wants to, hey, your nail polish is out. Like, that sounds cool. Like, I want to paint your floor with that. So there are places I stopped going because I started feeling like I wasn't able to be seen in the light of, like, understanding that maybe we should put the nail polish up when Kat's coming over, or maybe, like, Nicholas is going to get into this. So, like, it made me feel like I just shouldn't be there. And those things slowly started happening more and more. And you find your people, but, like, maybe if we could all kind of see outside of us and see, like, oh, well, like, maybe when my friend who has a child who has pica comes over, like, they want to put everything in their mouth, they want to eat everything, right? Like, maybe I'm not going to leave the things that can kill them out. Like, I'm not going to leave my batteries right here for you to stick in your mouth. Or maybe if somebody likes to jump off of the dining room table, like, maybe we're not going to sit in the dining room where the dining room table is, things of that nature. Is
it incumbent too on the parents of the child to just be able to have a frank conversation and maybe not? I mean, I'm sure there's that kind of dynamic going on.
I think that can be difficult for some parents to have to openly say to a friend, hey, we really want to come over. However, could you stop leaving your batteries out on the kitchen counter?
Yes.
Right.
Because you're uncomfortable of telling someone else how they need to live.
Put the china away. Yeah.
Put the china away. We really want to visit you, but, you know, my son may see the pretty shiny dishes and grab them. And you don't know how your friend's going to react, so it's just easier to not go. So I, as a mom that struggled with my child at a young age and his behaviors, I would have really loved for my friends and family to reach out and say, it's okay. You can bring Garrett over. We're okay.
Yes.
We're ready. We're going to be prepared. Help them, because moms and dads have so much on their plate already. The last thing they want to do is go to their friend's house and say, hey, can you move this, and this so we can come here, so we can spend the holiday with you?
Well, and it's especially hard, I think, so I'm very fortunate. My family, my parents, my sibling, they all live with me. We have, like, a little tribe all together in our house, and they're so supportive. Like, when I tell you that most of the bad behaviors for my kids come from the fact that they're spoiled, it's because of my parents. But like, my father-in-law, he's older, and he's a lovely man, but he doesn't always understand Nicholas's behaviors the same way. And I could have a conversation with him sometimes, but, like, he gets that mindset of, well, this is the way I know it. This is the way it is. And it definitely can project, like, a disapproval on me as a parent. So, like, when we're having those conversations of, like, hey, I'd love to come over, but, like, my son's going to break your dishes, then sometimes people are like, well, maybe if you just told him he can't do that, because we get that a lot. Well, just tell them not to do that or punish them. And you're like, well, that doesn't work for, just take the tablet away. Well, my son communicates with his tablet, and, like, he's not using it to watch SpongeBob for 23 hours. He's learning from it, but he doesn't put together the fact that he smacked me when he was upset and he can't have his tablet together. So it's like that hard conversation of, is the person that you're talking to receptive to being like, hey, can you put the dishes up? Or are they going to be like, well, you need to parent better? So
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, and that happens.
Yeah.
That's a lot of times why 13 years ago I started the monthly family sensory and social outings, because we didn't go anywhere. We did not leave our house because of the judgment we felt when we were out, and my son would have a meltdown and he would be laying on the floor at the bowling alley kicking tables, and everyone's like, oh, you don't know how to parent, your child's a spoiled brat. My child wasn't a spoiled brat. My child has autism and he was overstimulated,
And he deserved to be there. He deserved to be there too.
Yep. And we were trying to expose him to different environments in order to work through it. So
was it therapeutic? I mean, is there a change?
For me, it was not. For my son, yes.
The next time that you went to the bowling alley, did he exemplify the same thing?
It took 7 years, but
okay.
yes.
Eventually.
It took 7 years, but we also did that for the beach. We would go down to Presque Isle and he would scream, "You're killing me, you're killing me." And we would get these horrible looks and stares. But now my son is fine with the beach. He'll go in the water, he'll swim, he's enjoying. So that sensory, we call it desensitizing. So little at a time. Yeah. We'd probably be there, 5 minutes and then 10 minutes and then half hour. And so now at 22, he can do these things. And parents, though, that's what I always heard is we can't go because people stare. We don't know how our son or daughter is going to react. We do sensory-friendly outings in a safe environment. And if your child has a meltdown, it's okay. We've all been there. They're going to say, what can I do to help you? Can I help you? Let me take your other child over with us.
I think even the Seawolves is having a game this year.
We do,
right?
May 31st. We've been doing that for 10 years.
Is
we
that
have
right?
an autism sensory-friendly day at the Seawolves.
I love. Yeah, they turn the volume down a bit and maybe even the lights. All right, we're wrapping things up here. Got a couple minutes talking about Autism Acceptance Month. As you look at 2026, what are the things that you're looking forward to? Maybe on a global level with where autism is at, and maybe with your organizations. What does this next year look like for you guys?
You want me to go first?
Go ahead.
Okay, so obviously we're in the process of trying to become accredited. We need a building for our state accreditation to go through, but everything else is kind of accredited. So we're looking forward to hopefully being able to do that education aspect broadly across the state of Pennsylvania, as well as in Corry. We're actually trying to duplicate the model so that we can make it a rural autism support model that we can put as a state budget line item. That's a conversation that we're having right now. I think that globally, obviously, the more advocacy, the more that we have these conversations, the more that people are listening and seeing, the better it is for all of us. But we also need to draw awareness to the fact that there is such a delay on diagnosis. There is such a delay on getting services across the board for people, for children, for adults. There's a lot of misdiagnosis that goes through because girls exhibit traits different than boys do. They're getting diagnosed later because they're masking at earlier ages. We really need to deep dive as a whole civilization into understanding autism is a difference, and we need to support these people, not isolate them. And we need to be more aware and start just even diagnosing earlier and making ourselves more aware of that.
Tish?
So I have a few things. Well, right now, Autism Society as a collective, we're all using our voices to speak out about the cuts for Medicaid. Individuals, especially adults with autism, are really supported by that. So we're trying to raise that awareness that it's important for the disability community. The other thing is we've been working on getting identification on car registrations and driver's license of a communication disability that includes autism as well as speech disabilities.
Absolutely.
So, because we do have individuals with autism that are driving, and they need to know that, because the interaction with our local first responders can be very different if they don't know the individual has autism.
Do some states already have that?
Yes, Connecticut has what they call the blue envelope program, where you hand them the blue envelope and they know the individual has autism. Okay. So we have already participated in helping writing legislation. It just kind of got buried, and we're trying to keep keep that alive and get that approved. The other thing that I'm real passionate about is, I don't know if people are aware, there are a lot of individuals in state prison in Pennsylvania diagnosed with autism. Here in Albion, at the Albion State Prison, there is an entire autism wing. And this is because I'm not saying that all individuals with autism are charged poorly and that it's wrong. I'm not saying that. There are some that probably did commit true crimes, but many times they are the victims of people that they think they're friends, that it was a bullying and they were misled and they didn't understand that they were breaking the law because they were just trying to fit in.
They're not being advocated for correctly or properly.
Yep. And so they end up in prison marked as pedophiles because they end up in a manipulative situation. And there are many states that have what they call diversion programs. So instead of sending them away to prison, they send them to a diversion program, which teaches them what was the right thing and what was wrong and why did they get in trouble and how they could have spoken up and been a voice of themselves and being able to say no. So that's one of my big passions now, because I can't imagine. I mean, I know stories of moms that are beside themselves. Their sons are in prison because they were misled by a school friend that they knew for 13 years.
Jeez. That's horrific. Keep up the work. I mean, you're doing the Lord's work, aren't you? It really is amazing, and I appreciate your candor. I appreciate this it's such an important conversation. So thank you so much. Tish Bartlett, the Executive Director of the Autism Society Northwest Pennsylvania, and Kat DiVittorio, the Executive Director of the DiVittorio Center for Autism in Corry. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Back after this.